All right, guys, your boy Mike here. Let's jump on into what we're going to do today. We're going to be focusing on an understanding of the W-4 adjusting and how to use the IRS tax calculator real quick to make sure that you're maximizing the write-offs, that you're maximizing what you are deducting. Okay, so let's jump on into that right away. All right, so the W-4 calculator helps you to make sure that you're not overpaying, right, or underpaying, right? So make sure everything is in its proper place, because we want to get to a place to where that what we are contributing to that particular federal taxes is zero. But we want to do that the correct way, right? And we don't want to just say, okay, let me up my dependents or so, and they end up in somebody's audit or something, right? Okay, so what we want to do is protect against having too little tax withheld and facing an unexpected tax bill or penalty at that tax time next year. So we want to protect against that. Also, the average refund at the $3,000 you may prefer to have less tax withheld up front and receive more in your paycheck. And this is what we recommend, and what we recommend as members of MYECON as well. Okay, so as an average refund, that $3,000, you can use that throughout the year instead of just having a lump sum of $3,000, right? Really, because you really are you're not really taking advantage of everything you have, right? But we'll go into that more. Okay, so we do not guarantee that you will receive an increase in your check by adjusting your W-4 form, because we're not sure exactly where you are right now. So results will vary based on each individual's unique financial situation. So let's jump into it. Family status, that's married, filing jointly. This is what we're looking at right now, right? But when you go on the website, you go to the tax calculator on the IRS website, which I'll have a link inside. You will find that in the description somewhere. So married, filing jointly, they're asking you those questions, whether you're head of house or whatever, right? But in this particular one, we're looking at married, filing jointly. 105,000 household income, husband 50,000, wife 55,000. Okay, 2 dependents, ages 7 and 10, child care $6,500 a year, right? So basic average things. Okay, what we're going to do is to get the required information so that we will be ready when we sit down in front of the W-4 calculator, right? Because we want to make sure that we are taking advantage of that is there for us. Okay, so what you'll need to do is make sure that you get your last check stub, right, for you and your wife, or you and your husband, okay, or you yourself. Okay, now this is how you get to the tax withholding estimator. You can just go into and you can put in W-4 calculator, and then you'll see tax withholding estimator pop up here in the middle of the screen, as you see there with the red box around it, and that's where you want to go. All right, so if you're looking at this, pause it, and then you can get everything that you need, right? Pause it, you get everything you need, and come back. Welcome back. All right, let's go on. All right, so once you get to the tax withholding estimator, it's going to walk you through the different steps that you need. Okay, so you're going to read recent tax law changes for taxpayers who itemize. Read before you begin. Click use the tax withholding estimator. Okay, so you look at those things to make sure that there's nothing changed for your itemizations. Okay, and then also make sure you read the rest of it before you begin, and then click use tax withholding estimator. Okay, and we'll be backing this up. If you have questions going forward, you'll have the group, and we'll be here to answer those particular questions after you are going through these steps, or after you have gone through these steps. Right, so as we get there, it's the About You page. All you have to do is just answer the questions accordingly. It's just asking you questions about you, nothing difficult, right? Just about you and your household. Okay. The Johnson status is married, filing jointly. No one else can claim the Johnsons as a dependent on their tax return. Keep moving. Right? The Johnsons will be claiming their 2 children as dependents on the tax return. Both Mr. and Mrs. Johnson will hold a job with federal income taxes withheld. Both expect to hold one job each, and the Johnsons do not receive pensions. Okay. So if you're following along with this, don't be, you go ahead and push pause so that you can look at the screen and then do what you're doing as well. Okay. So don't worry about taking notes. Maybe do it along as you are doing yours. Have the video up so you can see where the screen is, right? Hit pause and then do your part and then go on. It's not difficult, but just in case you do need that. Now, the Johnsons do not have any other sources of income and tax payments. That's going to be the next question. The Johnsons do not fit any of the other demographics also, so they're going to hit that button as well. All right, so now we get to the income and withholding. Now, that is the income and withholding for each job that you earned income from this year, each job, right? Now, Mr. Johnson plans to hold his job the entire year. That's the next question. Yes. Mr. Johnson is paid twice monthly. That drop-down box there, hit that. Mr. Johnson's most recent pay period ended to 1921, according to our particular presentation here. So you would put in there, when's the last pay period, and you will have that in front of you right now. All right, so as we go through those, Mr. Johnson earns $50,000 a year. So that's just the question that he's answering. Okay, so that's all you're doing is answering the questions that are asking you about your particular household. Okay, Mr. Johnson does not expect any bonuses. Year to date, Mr. Johnson is paid $524 in federal taxes. He pulled that right off the check stub that he has next to him, right, or that you have next to you. From last check, Mr. Johnson has paid $131 in federal taxes. And Mr. Johnson does not contribute to a 401k or any other cafeteria plan. All right, so you basically just answer those questions and then keep moving. Now, as you get to this particular page, you answer the same questions, right? Mr. Johnson expects to have her job. Mrs. Johnson expects to have her job all year. Mrs. Johnson gets paid twice monthly. Mrs. Johnson, most recent pay stub period, right? It's just like before, she got to write up her pay stub. Mrs. Johnson earns $55,000 a year, and Mrs. Johnson does not expect any bonuses. So just go through and answer for you and your spouse, or just you, or whatever the situation may be, right? So your next page comes up to your year to date. Mrs. Johnson is paid $624 in federal taxes. From her last check, she is paid $156 in federal taxes. Mrs. Johnson does not contribute to a 401k or another cafeteria plan, and keep on rocking. All right, so on the adjustments to income, you have a significant impact to your tax obligation. Okay? So pay attention right here to these. The Johnson family does not know, so they opt to see what adjustments are there, right? Hit the box to see what adjustments are there. And the Johnsons do not have student loans, educator expenses, or IRAs. Now, do you have those things? Make sure it's asking you those questions. Go ahead and hit the box for yourself, of course. Now here, this shows you just the outline of how it goes. The Johnsons do not have health savings account deductions, moving expenses, alimony pay, penalty for early withdrawal, or business credit. The Johnson family does not have any adjustments to income. Right? So your next page, deductions from income. Johnson's family, they qualify for a standard deduction of $25,100. It'll tell you your standard deduction as soon as you get through with it, right? And what happens here, it just says here, the Johnson family does not have more than $25,000 in itemized deductions, so the Johnsons will take the standard deduction, right? So our goal is to help you to find out once you get to this particular stage, to say, hey, what is that particular standard deduction that I qualify for so far? And will the deductions that we are teaching you about, the top 12 deductions that we teach you about, right? Our goal is to have that either higher, right? Hopefully higher than that 25,000, especially if you have businesses and things like that, so that you can have, more in your write-off section. But if it's not higher, then you take the itemized standard deductibles and keep it moving. Right? And looking into your tax credits, the Johnson family, they qualify for tax credits for their dependents. Tax credits subtract directly from your tax obligation or what you owe. Okay, so you have credits, it subtracts from what you owe, right? So you click to see those tax credits, and they have noticed they have two that are under the 2 children under 17. The Johnsons have 2 children that qualify then for the child care tax credit. All right, so child care now, the Johnsons are paid $500 in child care. The Johnsons do not qualify for earned income tax credit because they make too much income. The Johnsons do not have foreign tax credit, educational, retirement savings, or homeowner credit. So they keep on moving past those. All right, pulling this up to a close. The Johnsons do not qualify for elderly or disabled or business alternative minimum minimum taxes or energy efficient vehicle credits. They don't have any of those. All right, so now you're at the results page. The results will show if you will owe or receive a refund. The Johnsons will have a tax obligation of $3,393. The Johnsons will pay 6,888 taxes and overpay. Overpay, that means they shouldn't be paying, right? The Johnsons will overpay by $2,895. So we want to adjust that understanding. You have that understanding. We want to not overpay. Okay? So Johnsons learned about the advantages of investing and owning a home-based business. They decide to invest $28.95 into their 401k. The Johnsons click on the income and withholding link. Mr. Johnson changes his answer and contributes $28.95 to his 401k. All right, so now under the adjustments to income, the Johnsons also learn about the advantages of a home-based business and decide to get started with us and with MYECON. The Johnsons click on the adjustments to the income link. Right, so they understand that by writing off the already bills that are coming in, you can start getting money back for these particular bills that were going out. Right, let's correct that mistake. So the Johnsons estimate they will have 5,000 in Schedule C business losses, and that's really where you come into your itemizations, right? So Schedule C business losses, as you see there, that line, they will put $5,000, and that's a good estimate there to start with for you yourself. Now back, the Johnsons click on the results tab again after making their change to their 401k contribution and adjustments to income. Let's see what changes they have now occurred, right? So by contributing to the 401k and starting a home-based business, Johnsons now have a tax obligation of $3,045. The Johnsons picked up an extra $948 by making these 2 changes. Easy. All right, so income shifting results. Let's look and see what happened. Because the Johnsons learned how to income shift with 2 simple strategies, they improved their finances in 3 different ways. The Johnsons redirected their tax overpayment, right? We don't want to overpay, into their 401k. Makes sense, right? Reinvest into yourself. So instead of overpaying, you put that into your 401k and pay yourself, right? Awesome. Mr. Johnson's employer matched the 401k dollar for dollar. So now there's another $28.95. Boom. Now, investing into the 401k and starting a business lowered their taxes by another $948. You see, it's how you work with what you already have. Okay. Now, see, when you understand these steps, it's stuff that you can do very easily to adjust and to participate in income shifting so that you can get yourself to a better position, have more cash flow. So then you can do what? Pay down debt, pay down expenses, pay on your credit so that it becomes better. Now your cash flow is increasing, right? So, guys, once again, this has been More Mike, and this is Fire. Faith in Yahusha always. Talk to you soon. Shalom.